Yo, welcome to another video, another forecast. Apologize last week, I couldn't obviously get the forecast video out. I was mad busy, physically and mentally as well. I was just tired, right? So I do apologize that I couldn't get a forecast video out last week. But this week, I'm back and hopefully it should be a good one. So let's get straight into it. So we are here with DXY. And what are we looking for next week? Now, what we started to see over the last week is the resurgence of the dollar, right? We saw this massive drop, right, that came through with the dollar, with a lot of economies opening up. A lot of the manufacturing PMI reports that came out last week, early week, were really positive, right? And that drove investors away from the safe haven dollar. But then midweek, there are these reports coming out with this second wave, which continues to grow, especially within the UK and in America, the rising cases continually, which has shifted the investors back towards that safe haven status for the dollar. And the price, or at least the DXY, has come to retest this area. Now, what we can expect going forward over the next week. So I'm thinking, or at least I think this price is going to come back to test again, right? Around here. And then we're going to see this drop come in, right? That is one option that we can see. However, how much the cases increase for coronavirus, and maybe even these trade talks over with China come into play, right? We can't even see the drop coming towards this level here, right? And then from here, we can see the rise in the dollar go up. And that we'll have to wait and see maybe midweek. So once again, I still think we're going to see this midweek reversal. Tuesday, Wednesday, we're going to see a reversal. So whichever way the dollar moves on between Monday and Tuesday, so kind of wait, right? Mondays and Fridays are usually quite, slow, volatile days, I would say, a little bit unpredictable days. So wait to what you see on Tuesday and then see, obviously, whether these two levels get hit on Tuesday. Whichever one gets hit, then you know which way the market is going to go. Okay. And then base it, and then obviously on the back of that, base what you want to see on your majors. So moving on to AUDUSD. So on that factor, and basically what the current situation in Australian dollar is. So they're obviously an island, right? They have, I think I was reading somewhere, they had like 20, they currently have got like 20 cases, new case, 20 new cases every day over the last week or so. So, which is actually great, which is actually a good thing, right, for the economy. They're pretty much kind of, I wouldn't say back up running. I don't think anyone's really back up running. Maybe New Zealand, I'm not entirely sure, but yeah. So I would say the movement for this price. So we can see some key levels of area here. So we can see this little short-term area. We're on a 1 hour time frame for now. Even if we check the 4 hour time frame, right, we can see that this is currently trading right within this channel, right? Which is quite a nice little channel that we've got here, right? We've got this nice little, where should we draw it from? Nice little wedge that's coming to be creating, right? And the price kind of moving within this. Now, what we would see over the next week is if this level gets broken, this level here, that's what we want to see if this gets broken, right? And we'll have to wait and see what the dollar and how investors react to the dollar and these new cases and the new second wave. So potentially, right? What I expect, right, is I'm expecting some sort of safe haven dollar strength incoming anyway, right? So I think we might see a short little rise, but in the interim, I think the bearish movement is going to continue, right, to test this trend line. If this trend line gets broken, right, then we can see the price venture out to this area here, okay? If this trend line does not get broken, right, and all of a sudden we see investors and these rumors being squashed for the second wave, then we can see the AUD rising towards this level and testing this area once again by the end of the week. Moving on to Euro USD. So Euro USD, I've kind of obviously drawn it out already. I was doing a lesson earlier, so I was kind of obviously showcasing my prediction over the next week. So the Euro USD is going to be quite an interesting one. We had a massive rise, right, for Euro, like over like 200 pips, right, in the space of about half a week, right? Like literally, look, 180 pips, it went up one way. And then it came rocking down. It didn't come all the way down to 180 pips, but we still managed to see 150 pip drop from Wednesday, right? Which is massive, which is huge. mainly because of the fact that they've got massive concerns across many European countries in terms of manufacturing and production over the next few weeks and months, because obviously the COVID situation, as well as the fact that potential rumors and little outbreaks that are happening. We're expecting this to continue in the second wave, as well as the fact that we've got some fresh new Brexit talks, right? And we're going to have to wait and see what that happens. I still think the euro are probably going to see the better impact of Brexit in the most interim basis. Long-term picture, as the as majority of obviously the government are predicting that long term we're going to be better off, etc., etc. So I believe with the added pressure of the safe haven status of the dollar, with their rising cases every single day, I think we're gonna see this movement towards these two areas here. This is the first one, right? And then maybe this is the second one, right? Once again, it's moving within this bearish channel. So I still think this bearish channel is still in play. The question is obviously where that rise is going to come, and obviously try and get that sell in maybe around here as well, around this area here. So first and foremost, I think we're going to try and see what happens in the first 2 days of the market, maybe Monday and Tuesday, see if the market comes to venture this area here. And then obviously we can try and look for our first buy setup, our second buy setup, and our third buy setup potentially, and see how much of that drop has come in play. If obviously Monday, Tuesday, if the market starts to rise a little bit, then we may have to wait for sell setups around this area here firstly, and obviously the second one is obviously when it meets a trend line, or even if it breaks a trend line, then we'll have to maybe look towards this area here, right, which is probably your final sell setup. Moving on to GBPUSD. Now this is going to be quite an interesting one this week, I think, especially with there's concerns in, unfortunately, Leicester, where where I'm from, right? So there's concerns of the fact that we might have a secluded lockdown, which has been all over the news. Whether the country's going to go into a lockdown, I don't think so. I think Boris Johnson and the government are very much so interested in trying to get this economy back up and running. They can't afford any more slippage, if that's what you want to call it. So I still think that the pound is going to continue to rise, or it's going to have some sort of rise at some stage. We're currently trading within this channel now, right? On the 4-hour time frame, right? Which a lot of the pairs now stacked against the dollar are trading obviously in some sort of bearish channel. So we're kind of squished within this steep decline channel, if that's what you want to call it. And what we can see here is we can see this very strong 1.23 level being held, right? Now there is still room for the 1.22 and obviously the 1.207, which is not that long ago in May was tested and bounced off that. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. But ultimately, I'm still assuming or still predicting some sort of rise and bounce off this area here for a rise to go up, and then potentially I'm looking. If this happens, also I'll be looking for a buy setup around here for my first one. If the price manages to reach here somewhere midweek or even Wednesday, Thursday, then I'll be looking for some sell setups to then come into play. Okay. Moving on to NZDUSD. So this is huge, massive, massive one. Reason being is because we look on the 4-hour time frame, right? Over the last few weeks, right, this area has been tested massively. 0.64, huge support level, right? Yes, okay, it's been kind of broken through on this day here, right? Yeah, massive bullish sorry, apologies, bullish green candle, right? And it's created a little zone, which is kind of like a good little buffer for us, 20 pip buffer from the 0.64 level, right? Once again, right, the New Zealand dollar kind of moving sideways. Once again, we're in this a bit of a channel of some sort, a little bit of a wedge that's been created. Not the best of trend lines actually, but if you just let me sort it out. So yeah, so we're on to this. So we've got this key level. So what I'm expecting here, I would have obviously, and we need to wait. I think I've got some good buy setups here. So I'll probably say we need to kind of wait towards the 0.64 level, with a 20 pip buffer towards this area, and obviously trying to look for the buy setups up there. However, as many people have mentioned, if this level gets broken, firstly, the 0.64, If we see a 4-hour candle or maybe even a couple of 1-hour candles open and close below this level, that opens the door for this pair to go further down, right? And what will help massively is obviously the safe haven status of the dollar. Moving on to USDCHF. So USDCHF, how's this moving, man? So this is moving a little bit different, right? In terms of pairs, once again, because of the battle of the safe haven statuses, right, between the two. Obviously, with the dollar more stronger, more powerful safe haven status than the CHF. But ultimately, if we depict this based on the DXY, right, and its movement, we have to expect a bullish movement, right? And I think with this, once again, trapped in this bearish little wedge here that we have here, right? And if you really want to trap the market to try and get your places, buy setups and breakouts that you're looking for, right? Then we can see that it's currently in a bearish flag of some sort, actually, which is a little bit different to some of the other pairs we're looking at. So there's your kind of little flag formation. Here's the here's the pole that we're looking at, right? Which is what we want. And based upon the flag formation, right, what we should be expecting is a bearish movement from here, right? We expect, it to play out kind of obviously within this wedge, right? So based on that, what I'm looking for is maybe sell opportunities from this top here. So we can go towards, the market can go towards this area here. And then obviously we can then start to look for our sell opportunities and trying to aim for the top of the pole here and maybe even further down. And you know what? I'm only predicting one way for this USDCHF, which is a little bit different to the rest of the pairs. Moving on to USDCAD, two massive juggernauts, as I always call them, right? It is coming up to test a huge level, which I think it's coming to retest this area that it previously broke that I mentioned in my video like 3 weeks ago now. So what we want to do is we're looking for the same kind of opportunity. I think we've kind of broken out of this bearish channel, right, that we was playing in, right, last week. It broke out, came to retest the channel, this trend line, and it's come back to retest here. Now, with this massive bullish movement for the USD against the Canadian dollar, right, can we see the Canadian dollar be weak again, right? And can we see this movement for the USD to continue to rise, maybe towards this top trend line, right? Who knows, right? However, I think we're going to see some good opportunities to get some good amount of pips in right here. We can maybe see Tuesday income in a little bit of a sell, maybe towards this line here, all right? And then we can see that breakout of this area going towards up there once again. Moving on to USDJPY. USDJPY has been quite a fun one over the last few weeks, all right? It's moving quite nicely, a little bit slow, a little bit of consolidated movement, but ultimately for the week ahead, what can we look at, right? It's not got that wedge forming as some of the other majors do. USDJPY has a little bit of a mind of its own, actually, right? And what can we actually expect? So we can see there's some key areas, right, of support being lined out here. We've got this massive long wick right here, and we've just got to create a little zone here just because of the fact that the market came to test this area for some sort of reason. It's a 1.06 level right here, key psychological level as well. So what can we expect going forward? So I think on the upwards area, we've got this zone here that we can maybe potentially extend outwards. So we can see the market hasn't come to test its zone since the early part of June. So it's not ventured out there. So I think maybe, right, we can look for some sell setups here. All right. The gap between here to here is about 50 pips. So, we really can get some small sell setups here with some small stop losses, manage your risk accordingly. Look for that bearish movement down here. If the market, moves in a bearish channel in the first few days, then we can kind of obviously look for our buy opportunities going up here. So obviously you kind of got two opportunities which way to go over the next week. So moving on to gold. So this is huge. This is fantastic. This is massive, man. This is a huge one, right? Now, the reason why a lot of people are probably struggling with trading gold, right? Yeah, and even with me, I'm being very careful with gold, is the fact that it's kind of going two ways. We've got this massive safe haven status of the dollar, providing massive dollar strength, but also because of that, investors are also alongside it trading more gold, or at least in putting their money into gold, which is kind of raising the demand for gold and price of gold respectively. So what can we expect with gold? Now, last week I published all right, a long-term projection that I think, over the next few months and until the end of the year, we're going to see a rejection. We're going to see this price come downwards towards the 60, towards the, low 1700s and, mid 1600, 1650 level, right? Mid 1650 level to kind of test that area, get a massive amount of pips in. However, after kind of seeing what happened last week, right, yeah, I still think, and some of the candlestick formation, we can see this massive hammer that's kind of obviously being created, right? So I'm thinking what we can expect, right? I still think in the long term, this is a bearish movement, right? Over next week, right, we're going to have to wait and see what happens to these rumors and cases around coronavirus, any sort of impacts worldwide politically. So I still think, we're going to have to see this upward movement towards this 1780 level. If that gets respected, and it bounces off that, we're seeing this movement once again, right? Or at least that's what we should expect. Because don't think it only hit 1780 last week, right? Which is which kind of broke this high here at 1765, right? So we want to try and see if this level gets tested again. And if it gets tested again in the short term inter period, then we can see. And if it bounces off it, then we can expect this downwards trajectory once again for the remainder of the year. Like we saw from here, from 1763. A lot of people, myself, had shorts from 1763 or at least 1760 level, right? Yeah, all day coming downwards, right? Yeah, and we can see this massive line, massive bearish movement towards this area here. So once again, we can potentially see that reflected movement here. If it breaks this 1800 incoming, you had it here first, and I think I projected this like 3-4 months ago as well, actually, for 1800 to be hit. So yeah, so that is it for this week. That's the forecast. You can go a few different ways. Let's wait and see what happens on Monday, and then kind of react midweek, or maybe and kind of monitor and analyze that. I've been sorry about obviously not posting last week. Once again, I had a huge obviously busy week. I've been teaching a lot. My website's still not up and running, but I'm gonna get that out soon, hopefully. So keep an eye out for Bull Run FX, and you know what? I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.